Hello, and welcome to the Ask Me Anything for September 2022. The first question comes from Smash Bro D, which is, how much do you know about the lore of the Kirby series? I don't know a huge amount of the stories off the top of my head, but I have read up on the Kirby lore in the past. Mostly the nightmare fuel pages on like TV tropes. I just tend to find those kinds of things really fascinating, especially for like cuter games or like kid shows types of things, because I feel like they tend to have the type of like whoa like sort of darker stuff that I'm more interested in, as opposed to like um I feel like older shows or shows for older audiences, that is, or games. I don't know. They tend to go for like different angles that I'm not quite as into, but kids oriented stuff tends to be like, I don't know, a bit more creative because they can't be straightforward with it. But as far as Kirby goes, like I know about stuff like Highness and Star Allies running a cult of all things. So next set of questions comes from Aquasun. The first of which is, how do you feel about separating the artist from the art or death of the author? It's a bit hard to answer this one, especially as an artist, because on one hand, if someone consumes a work and knows nothing about the person who made it, then yeah, it's not going to affect their interpretation. And I've always been of the mind that the way someone interprets a work often says more about them than the work or the author itself. Like just what kinds of things they read out of something can be very indicative of like what kinds of like a bit of what kind of person they are. However, I do think that it is, for lack of a better word, a bit naive or like willfully ignorant to think that the author has no weight behind the meaning of a work. Because art in many ways is a form of expression, expression of ideals, morals, feelings, how you were raised, memories that you have, relationships, stuff like that. And fiction is not made in a vacuum. The voice of the work is informed by who the author is. Like, just look at any creative writing class you might have had in like high school or university or something, where everyone gets the same prompt, but they do something completely different with it because they're completely different people. So like, to claim that an author holds no weight and can be fully disconnected is just kind of like, I don't know, it feels like denial. Like if you take it extreme, especially if the author or artist is very vocal about like harmful views and like what they meant things to mean, to brazenly say that doesn't matter at all or affect the media at all feels insincere. Like even if they weren't thinking about that kind of stuff can bleed in. I think the best middle ground when it comes to that kind of topic, because everything is a case by case, but just making sure that the aspects that the author like and that their intent is still addressed when analyzing a work, while also providing an interpretation that could stray from that kind of stuff. Just because like it should at the very least be addressed, because who the author is can very much affect a work, right? So that's just what I think anyway. Next question is, if you had a time machine that could let you visit any time period setting, and it's magic, so you don't have to worry about any diseases or changing history, where would you like to go? I guess if it let me come back just as easily and I could get out of Dodge if anything bad was happening, I'd check out medieval Europe. So many stories around centered around that time period, so I'd like to see what it was really like. Next question is, do you have a favorite card game? Example, Go Fish. If it counts, then Vesperia's poker card game. I don't know what it is about that one. I just love it, and it's just really fun. But if that doesn't count, because it is like I don't even know if it's like full poker or like a simplified version of it. I don't know. But if it doesn't count, then I would actually go with blackjack. I like that quite a bit. Next question is, what did you think of Madoka Magica? I enjoyed it quite a bit. I have fond memories of watching it with a really close friend in university, so those memories are really precious to me. The end of the Rebellion movie was kind of meh for me at first, but watching a bunch of videos interpretations on it made me appreciate it a little more. I don't know if I don't know if I'm quite in the like category yet, but I can appreciate like the themes and stuff of it. And we're still, of course, waiting for possibly a continuation. I don't know what they're doing. But overall, very tightly woven story for the original 12 episodes with a very beautifully visual follow-up movie. And the last question from Aquasun is, what's an uncommon trope that you love whenever it shows up in a story? I think I'd have to go with badass in distress, basically. Usually it means the main character is trapped or in trouble or needs help. I don't even know if that's super uncommon. I feel like it slightly is because, most works want to have the hero be, the hero and solving problems and stuff. But I really like those situations because, like, say, Batman or, like, Superman, stuff like that. If they're in trouble and need help to get out of it, I find that humanizes them a bit more as opposed to being like the unstoppable, force that no one can get in the way of. As well as it often lets supporting or side characters get a bit more of the spotlight because they have to help the hero out of the tricky situation. So I really like those kinds of plots because, it shows a rarer side to the hero while also letting other people kind of have a turn in the spotlight. So the next set of questions comes from Hannah Page. First one being, what's your absolute favorite video game soundtrack? One single song that you could listen to ad nauseum. Which is a very tough question because there are so many amazing tracks out there. Shooting Star Summit, Gar Plains, Tales of Symphonia's Silverant map theme, Delphina Plaza. So many. And those are just a few off the top of my head that I could listen to like pretty much forever. Next question, if you could have a chance to ride a luxury ride, what would you want to? Take a cruise, drive a fancy fast car, ride a luxury train, or a high-flying jet? I would have to go with the luxury train. I've always wanted to try, like, go on a trip in one of those fancy passenger car trains. I feel like that'd be really interesting. Next question, what video game world would you like to vacation to the most? Already kind of alluded to it earlier with the music track question, but provided it didn't have any sticky pink like goop at the time, Delfino Island. It just looks very beautiful, a lot of cool attractions, just lax, Next question, least favorite vegetable. I think it technically counts. I even looked it up and they said yes, technically. But mushrooms. And most of that has to do with the texture. I just can't, like, the second I taste it on my tongue, or rather feel it with my tongue, I'm like, but as far as I know, I like the taste of them. It's just I can't get past the texture. And the last question from Hannah is, what game do you think you'd be able to 100% the easiest? And the answer is Paper Mario 64, which I'm pretty sure I did 100% the last time I played it. Next question is from Rhea Sonora, which is, out of all the facial expressions you drew throughout the years, which are some of your personal favorites? So the first one that comes to mind is one of the Xenoblade Comicals where Dixon shows up and they're going to do a chain attack and it's on a Mechon, and Shulk's like, well, at least Dixon has an anti-Mechon weapon because he made one for Dunban, so he'll be able to do damage. But he only does 1 damage. He's like, what the heck? And Dixon doesn't have a weapon that would hurt the Mechon, and Shulk's angry face in that one is a really big one for me. Otherwise, it's really hard to think because I've done so many expressions. It's hard to pick a few like personal favorites, especially because often I forget about some of them too. A lot of Mithra's faces are really good in Xenoblade 2. What else? There's a Mario Sunshine one where he throws a pineapple and the last frame, he's like, no, because it got all stuck. I like that one too. Oh, there's some good Twilight Princess ones too. Like when I did the one where he's like sleeping through cutscenes and then he's like a wolf at the end of one of them. He's like, oh, I like that one too. I hope that suffices as an answer. It's so hard to think of all the good ones. Next set of questions comes from Angel Princess. First one being, with the season of fall arriving, do the stores around you get pumpkin spice craze stuff? Indeed they do. I actually had a pumpkin spice donut a few days back. It's all right. Next question. Which aspect of Halloween do you enjoy more? The treats, the spooky stuff, or the overall fall aesthetics? I like all of the above, but I do like the creepy decorations and such, which, from that Kirby question, you could probably have guessed at that. I like the kind of like slightly spooky, creepy things. So I think I'd get that a bit from my dad. He loves Halloween. Last question from Angel is, have you ever tried out the GBA game Golden Sun? I have not, because I didn't actually have any of the Game Boys growing up, and I haven't looked into I don't do much emulation at all. So the last batch of questions comes from Gaku. First one being, which era of anime is your favorite? I don't tend to think of them in eras, but thinking on it a little bit, I would say probably the decade of 2002 to 2012. That was definitely when I was watching the most anime. And I know some weren't made in this time, but that's when I got into Detective Conan, Inuyasha. At the very tail end of that span of years was The World Only Knows. There's probably plenty other ones. Oh, the original FMA, and then Brotherhood was in there too. Oh, Oran High School Host Club. So yeah, a lot of stuff in there. Next question is, who's your favorite Okami character? I like Mr. Orange a lot because of his breakdancing. There's a lot of good ones. Susano is always a gem with his antics. And Waka, of course, especially because he's a mainstay throughout the entire thing. I think that's probably the toughest part about choosing a favorite Okami character, is that they're very kind of segmented. There's not very many that do the entire run. I used to like Isun a lot, but as I got older and watched a playthrough with him, I was like, oh, it's more annoying than I remember. He's still got a good arc and stuff, but his archetype I don't appreciate as much now, and I'm kind of surprised I did in the first place. So the next question is, any video game you regret pre-ordering or getting excited for? I didn't pre-order this, and I don't know if got excited is quite accurate, but the game I definitely regret buying, especially digital, is Origami King. I had an okay time with it. There were parts that were very fun, but parts that I wanted to rip my hair out. I truly wish I had a physical copy so that I could sell it to get at least some money back, but I didn't. So yeah, it was possibly one of the only games where I'm like, that was just not worth the money to me at all. So and the last question is, any movie you regret watching? I actually don't think so. I don't watch many movies in the first place, so when I actually do watch them, they're finely selected, right? On a very limited basis, for the highest chance that I'm, gonna enjoy it to at least a degree. I don't do many blind watches where I'm oh, I don't know what this is at all. I'll watch it. I kind of look into it a little bit so that I at least have a somewhat good time. So, and if there was, it would probably be one that I blocked out of my memory. So, unfortunately, can't really answer that accurately. In any case, that was actually the last question for the month, so we're going to switch on over to the end screen here. As always, you can see my patrons scrolling by here with the patron NPCs pictured above their names if they decided to redeem that reward. Any of the characters that you see here can be found in the monthly comics that I do. That is part of the reward of being a patron, as well as getting your name or a link put in the description on videos like this. But yeah, I always appreciate everybody asking questions as well as pledging. It really means the world to me. And as well, always thankful for people watching these. It's always fun to answer, see what people think of for the different seasons coming along. Oh, and the list is getting longer too, so I often don't know quite what to say other than thank you. But yeah, if you're interested in supporting me and getting your name in these credits, you can always check out the links below in the description or to the side. I guess YouTube changed the layout a little bit, but yeah, I will see you guys next month. Bye.